Just sign the paper, Nicole. Those words hit me like ice as my mother pressed into my shoulder, her whisper sharp enough to bruise. On the table lay a quick claim deed demanding I give up my 20% share of our family home, while my father silently waited, tapping the pen eyes fixed on securing their dream at my expense. They thought they controlled everything, but inside, I was calm already, steps ahead, quietly holding the secret that would turn the game in my favor. The title officer's fingers hovered over the final key-thick glasses, sliding down her nose as if she were peering into the future. Wire initiated, she said, her voice dry, almost mechanical, and suddenly the room seemed to exhale. My mother Harper let out a sob that was part relief, part delusion, wrapping herself around my father. Like they'd just survived a battle, not sold their only asset to fund a pipe dream. Drake, puffing his chest, looked at Kyle as if crowning a prince. Chest swelling with pride, blind to the reality. Kyle leaned back, the leather chair groaning under him, a smirk twisting his lips. "Thanks for the donation, sis," he said, winking, the words curling in my stomach like smoke. He didn't even notice the tension in my calm, the quiet observation of a woman who had already mapped every risk, every vulnerability they ignored. Their entire universe had shrunk to Silver Creek visions, golf carts, heated pools, and the illusion of golden returns. They were celebrating a future built on fantasy, unaware that the foundation was already cracking. I could almost see the smoke rising from their mental picture, each dollar like an ember, glowing and fragile. My fingers brushed over the laptop in front of me, humming faintly in sleep mode. To them, it was just a screen, a distraction, maybe a sign I was embarrassed or occupied with trivial work. But I was already awake in more ways than they realized. The banking portal I accessed months ago when Kyle was too hungover to handle paperwork now sat open in my mind's eye. The internal wiring of accounts, the fact that transfers were instantaneous, not overnight waits, was something they never considered. Laziness had left gaps, complacency had left keys unattended, and I was ready. Kyle's eyes glinted with triumph, the smug arrogance of someone who thought they had won. "I might hire you when the company goes public," he joked, eyes locked on me, words dripping with condescension. "You can answer phones, order coffee." I didn't respond. I let him think I was playing the part, pretending to check emails, letting him bask in his unearned victory. My mind was elsewhere, tracing the paths of the funds, noting how every system he relied on to protect his dream was already compromised, already under my control. While the room buzzed with fantasy, I felt a strange stillness, a calm certainty. They were blind to the risk, blind to the reality of Kyle's situation. Every cheer, every sigh of relief was a note in a symphony of irony I alone could hear. I watched the colors in the dashboard flicker, imagining the green bar of the incoming wire, knowing they saw a miracle, while I saw a tool, a lever, a key to redirect their money in a way they would never anticipate. Their eyes followed numbers. They didn't understand. Imagining futures I had already decided to rewrite, and in that quiet, tense moment, I held the strings of the entire room in my hands, unseen, untouchable, and waiting for the perfect move. I slid my fingers over the laptop, resting quietly on the polished mahogany table, its soft hum barely audible beneath the chatter of my family's relief. They thought I was checking emails, hiding my face in work, playing the part of the dutiful sister, the glorified secretary who had no control, no real power. But the screen was already awake in my mind long before my fingers traced the keys. I tapped it gently, and the login window of First Horizon Bank appeared, just as I had imagined. Years of being underestimated had trained me to spot opportunity in laziness, and Kyle's own negligence had left an open door I could walk through without a sound. 6 months ago, hungover and smelling of stale bourbon, he had begged me to set up an LLC account at the same bank where I keep my personal savings. "Just make it easy," he slurred, rubbing his temples. He didn't want paperwork, didn't want to read contracts, didn't even want the alerts. That request had planted the seed for this moment for the leverage that I now held. His laziness wasn't a flaw, it was a vulnerability I could exploit without breaking a sweat. I opened the account dashboard and watched as the wire transfer flickered onto the screen, the balance in Kyle Ventures LLC, reflecting $185,000. It was a green bar of beauty, every digit perfectly aligned, every penny landing in the account as they had intended. My parents saw triumph, a golden future, while I saw the setup for the next step, the silent redirection that would make the illusion crumble. I didn't hesitate. Days ago, I had prepared a transaction template, a simple instruction, resting in draft's destination, Nicole personal savings memo debt settlement, priority lien enforcement. Every detail calculated, every clause anticipated. The timing was exact, the method foolproof, because the transfer was internal. No banks, no delays, no chance for interception. In one quiet click, I executed the template. The balance of Kyle Ventures LLC dropped instantly, like a stone thrown into a deep well. $0. My heart didn't race. I didn't flinch. The green bar disappeared, replaced by emptiness, but to them, nothing seemed amiss yet. I closed the laptop with a soft, definitive click, the sound small, but resonating through the sudden quiet of the room like a gavel announcing the verdict. Kyle's phone chimed almost immediately. He pulled it out, grinning, expecting confirmation, expecting triumph. The smile froze as his thumb tapped and refreshed the screen over and over, disbelief rooting him to the spot. I could see the color draining from his face, gravity taking hold of blood he had once worn like arrogance. "Dad," he whispered, voice trembling, "where's the money?" My father Drake bellowed assurances about processing delays, interbank wires, time required for big transfers. They were grasping at a reality that no longer existed, huddling over a phone, desperate, their fantasy beginning to fracture. I leaned back, watching the chaos, fascinated by their vulnerability. For years, I had been invisible, a secretary in their eyes, incapable of real action, but now every assumption they had made was a tool I wielded. I could trace every step of the transfer, anticipate every question, every panic, every plea, because the path had been set by their own mistakes. Kyle had handed me the keys in his laziness, ignored warnings, dismissed contracts, waved away alerts. His indulgence in ease and shortcuts had given me control. I wasn't breaking any laws. I wasn't stealing. I was exercising foresight, executing strategy, enforcing the consequences of neglect with calm precision. And as I watched Kyle's desperation grow as the numbers mocked him, the dramatic irony settled around us like a tangible weight. They had celebrated a future that would never exist, and I had orchestrated every step to reveal the truth. The money wasn't lost. It was redirected perfectly, accounted for, legally binding, and completely under my control. In that quiet, tense room, the fantasy of wealth collided with the stark reality of consequence. And I sat there, calm, collected, the architect of the moment they could not comprehend. Kyle's smirk evaporated like mist when he finally saw the numbers on his phone. His grin froze mid-thought, then faltered entirely as he tapped and swiped, desperate, hoping the screen was lying, hoping some glitch had swallowed the $185,000. Dad, where's the money? His voice trembled, cracking under panic. Harper clutched her pearls, trembling while Drake's confident posture wavered as he scrambled for excuses. It's just a processing delay, Drake barked, voice booming, trying to mask the rising dread. They were grasping at fantasies, clinging to an illusion, blind to the reality unraveling before their eyes. I leaned forward, calm, deliberate, letting the room hang on that silence. I let them stew in their panic eyes, darting breaths shallow. It's not a glitch, I said softly, slicing through the tension like a scalpel. Silence fell heavy and suffocating. Kyle's bloodshot eyes found mine disbelief, morphing into raw, panicked anger. His posture shifted rigid, as if he might vanish into the air if he could. "You moved it," he shrieked, voice rising, fingers jabbing the air as though pointing could summon the lost funds. Drake stepped closer, paternal authority brimming, demanding explanations I wasn't obliged to give. But this time, I was in control. "Yes," I said, "I moved it." And then I revealed what they'd never asked, never bothered to know. "I am a senior risk assessor," I said, letting the weight of my credentials settle in the room. For years they treated me as a secretary, a glorified helper, incapable of judgment, incapable of action. They never asked, they never learned, and now the very skills they dismissed were the ones orchestrating the consequence they feared. Kyle's face twisted a cocktail of disbelief and fury as I continued. 6 months ago, he begged me to set up the LLC. He was hungover, careless, dismissing paperwork and alerts. He handed me the keys because he couldn't be bothered to carry them. That was his mistake. Laziness, I said quietly, is the architect of ruin. I didn't pause, letting the phrase sink. Harper gasped, eyes wide, as I laid out the next layer. Weeks ago, I purchased a portfolio of distressed consumer debt. Every defaulted loan, every credit card, every gambling marker Kyle had ever signed now belonged to me through a shell company. I held court judgments, legal leverage, complete control. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in as the weight of reality sank in. Kyle, paled hands, trembling, finally, seeing that the game he thought he controlled was rigged against him. "You bought my debt," Harper whispered, voice shaking, clutching the edge of the mahogany table as though it were a lifeline. "To save him," I said flatly, eyes on Kyle. My voice carried both authority and clarity. If I hadn't intercepted the money, he would have wired it offshore, and the people he owed wouldn't have sued, they would have come for him. Kyle's knees threatened to buckle, desperation flaring panic and rage mingling in a dangerous swirl. "You hacked it. Call the police, arrest her," he yelled, lunging at my calm as though physical violence could erase the truth. Drake grabbed the phone, scanning transaction histories, but his anger was tangled with confusion. $185,000 now bore the name Nicole Personal Savings. Every green digit, every line on the dashboard screamed legal, strategic, and final. His face, usually so smug, turned ashen. He stared at me, pleading, accusing, realizing that for the first time someone had outmaneuvered him completely. Harper's tears were no longer comfort. They were disbelief, horror at the house, at the money, at the fantasy they'd invested in. She shrieked, "Kyle is a businessman. He has a vision. You're just a secretary jealous of him." The irony hung in the air, almost tangible. My voice was steady, slicing through her denial. He's not a businessman. He's a gambling addict. I saved him from himself. You made your choices. I just collected the wreckage when it came to me. Drake's fists slammed the table, splintering the polished surface. You manipulated us. You waited until we sold the house. He roared, but I didn't flinch. My blazer smooth, my stance unwavering, I met his gaze. I didn't make him gamble. I didn't make you sign the deed. I positioned myself to catch the inevitable. The room vibrated with a mixture of anger, shock, and disbelief. Kyle's hands fisted at his sides, the reality of debt's legal ownership, and lost money finally grounding him. The illusion was gone. Harper and Drake were exposed to their own delusions, and I stood in the center, calm, resolute, the only person untouched by panic or regret. The balance of power had shifted entirely, and they could see it now reflected in the quiet confidence of the one they had always underestimated. Kyle's panic reached a dangerous edge as he lunged toward the desk, grabbing the heavy letter opener like a lifeline. The metal gleamed under the harsh office lights, a cruel extension of his desperation. His breaths came ragged, each one a staccato drumbeat echoing in the tense room. "Transfer it back," he screamed, voice cracking, eyes wide and unhinged. Harper lunged toward me, clutching my arm with nails digging in not to protect me, but to force my compliance. "Just give it to him, Nicole." She sobbed, tears streaking her face. "Don't make him do something." Drake's voice thundered behind her, authoritative, commanding, trying to restore control. "You do what I say, or you're not leaving." The air was thick, almost suffocating, charged with fear and fury. But I didn't flinch. My hand hovered calmly not over the laptop, but over the space where I had memorized every security protocol, every layer of protection, every barrier Kyle could never bypass. "Mom, Dad, step back," I said, voice steady even as my heart kicked hard. "You should have checked the security protocols before this moment. It's too late now." Kyle's grip on the letter opener tightened, the metal bending slightly under pressure, his knuckles white. He advanced another step, the tension in his shoulders screaming threat. Time seemed to slow, each heartbeat a drum, counting down seconds that could decide consequences far graver than words. Then, in a perfectly timed shift, the door burst open. Two uniformed officers, off-duty police assigned to the building, filled the doorway. "Drop it," the lead officer barked, authority sharp, unwavering. Their presence fractured the chaos like light through dark water. Kyle froze the letter opener, faltering in his grasp. He spun, wild eyes darting between us and the officer's realization, dawning that this was no longer a family squabble, no longer words or threats could protect him. Drake tried to step forward, boom of his voice attempting to assert dominion, but the second officer moved smoothly, positioning between him and Kyle. The room's energy shifted, the threat of immediate violence replaced by calculated control. Kyle's momentum faltered completely, the letter opener clattering to the carpet as the officers advanced, restraining him methodically. Harper, still clutching my arm moments before, sagged, shock and relief mingling across her features. I finally exhaled the tension in my shoulders, easing, but not completely. The room was still vibrating with adrenaline. My arm throbbed, where her nails had left marks, a physical reminder of the stakes, the danger and the sharp edge of human desperation. The officers secured Kyle cuffs, clicking, the sound echoing like judgment, and the immediate threat dissolved as suddenly as it had ignited. The reality of the situation had pierced through layers of fantasy panic and family loyalty, leaving only a taut, quiet aftermath. In those moments, I realized the delicate balance between strategy, preparation, and raw human unpredictability, and how quickly control could shift from calm to chaos, from dialogue to danger, all within the span of a heartbeat. Kyle was led away in handcuffs, his voice cracking as he pleaded each word a mixture of fear, frustration, and disbelief. Harper and Drake were left behind, staring at the empty space he had once filled with bravado, their faces masks of shock and dawning comprehension. The house they had sacrificed for the fantasy of Silver Creek retirement and heated pools had evaporated in the wake of their own choices. I watched them quietly, not with malice, but with a calm clarity I hadn't felt before. Weeks of tension, manipulation, and careful calculation had culminated in this precise moment, and the weight of it settled in my chest like an invisible ledger balancing itself. I stepped back from the room, my arms still sore from Harper's grip, and for the first time in years, I felt the clean, unshakable lightness of freedom. Back in my apartment, the quiet was different now. It didn't hum with loneliness, but with a soft, steady rhythm of control reclaimed. I poured coffee into my favorite mug, its warmth grounding, and glanced at my notifications. The high-yield savings account had posted its first interest payment. Small, incremental, but undeniable. Money that was mine, earned not through bloodshed or betrayal, but through foresight and a careful understanding of risk. Each chime of alerts, each ripple in the account balance felt like a reclamation of years where I had been invisible. The backup plan, the one expected to sacrifice herself for everyone else's dreams. Kyle's bail, the ongoing court proceedings, the sale of the family home. All of it was predictable fallout, but it no longer held power over me. The quiet apartment, the sunlight spilling across the balcony, the subtle aroma of coffee. It was a sanctuary built from consequences, yes, but also from vindication. I didn't rejoice in my parents' discomfort or Kyle's panic. I merely acknowledged the truth of cause and effect, the natural order of accountability finally enforced. Messages from my parents arrived intermittently, alternating waves of begging and rage. But I didn't reply. Their frustration, their sense of loss was the echo of choices they had made long before I had moved a finger. The money, the legal leverage, the shell companies, they were all extensions of a principle they had ignored. Protect yourself when others refuse to see danger. I tapped away, deleting old messages, old reminders, letting each action cleanse the digital clutter, a metaphor for reclaiming my own narrative. Sitting back, sipping my coffee, feeling the sun on my face, I realized how rare it was to emerge from chaos unscathed, yet unburdened, financially and emotionally. The house was gone, the debts settled, the threats neutralized, and for the first time I understood the sharp clarity of true independence. I walked away, not just with money, but with the quiet satisfaction of alignment between knowledge, preparation, and action. And as I watched the city wake below, the question lingered in my mind, one I couldn't answer, but would carry with me. At what cost would you protect yourself when those closest to you gamble with the truth, the law, and even love itself? In the end, I walked away with clarity, freedom, and the satisfaction of having protected myself while navigating the chaos of family loyalty and betrayal. The house is gone, the debts handled, and I finally see the power of boundaries and foresight. Sometimes protecting yourself means making the hard choices others can't or won't see. I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced a moment where standing your ground meant confronting those you love? Share your experiences and thoughts. What would you do in my place?